Hello, folks. Welcome to Business Spotlight. For many businesses, CSR is something that's just a box-ticking exercise. But my guest today is all about establishing the new CSR standard and making it something that's credible and authentic for its recipients. I'm delighted to be joined by the absolutely fantastic Richard Collins from CSR Accreditation. Richard, it's brilliant to see you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
It's a pleasure, Mark, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I can't wait to talk about your business and to learn more about CSR accreditation. Let's dive straight in. You've been doing this for a while now, and you've been establishing that new standard for CSR. Can you tell me the story behind how you started the business?
Yeah, I'll be as brief as I can because it is a bit of a long story, but my background is branding. And I mention that because I was always interested in branding for purpose. And I've always had a passion for sustainability. You know, we used to say that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And you know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe that was about products and services. Whereas recently, I think, you know, your brand is how people perceive your business around your environmental and social responsibilities. One of my first customers in many ways was the Green Organization, who I've been working with for the best part of 30 years now. And we help them with their branding and have been closely involved with them for many years. About 12 or 15 years ago, the Green Organization established the International CSR Excellence Awards, which we co-ran and supported, and is still running to this very day. In fact, the recent one was at St. Paul's Cathedral just recently. There was a natural synergy. There was a natural movement from, you know, branding in terms of that traditional sense of branding to that branding with purpose. And then obviously the establishment of CSR accreditation, as we started to recognize that more and more businesses are using their environmental and social responsibility as part of their brand language.
So many businesses do that without authenticity, right, Richard? They just use it as a bit of a sticking plaster in a way that's not kind of truly credible and authentic. And you're about the opposite. You're about establishing that standard and helping people to become accredited with their CSR, right? But I'm sure that wasn't an easy journey to kind of jump that chasm. So tell me, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced as you started the business, and how did you overcome them?
You picked up on some interesting points, Dan. I suppose our biggest mistake was we assumed everybody knew what CSR was. And we kind of set up the CSR accreditation because there was a gap. We actually were asked to look at it, found out that nobody was doing that, and so this was an opportunity for us to establish a new standard, the standard for social responsibility, remove the C, so the corporate bit was dropped in favor of company or charity or community, or best of all, collaborative social responsibility. And I think the challenges was really educational. So it was making sure that people understood that social responsibility isn't a box ticking exercise, that you need to back it up with evidence. So we always talk about CSR being great for storytelling, but you need the story doing to support it. And after all, we live in a world, a digital world now, where people can just go online and look stuff up really easily. If you're making claims you can't back up, you'll be found out, and that will damage your brand reputation.
And you said yourself, you come from a branding background yourself. So how did you go about building a strong customer base for your organization and establishing your brand and making sure that you were standing out?
It really was a drip organic process. I mean, when we launched this originally, we did it as part of the branding agency, which we were running. And it was just to sort of test the water to see what would happen. And the appetite was really, really powerful because organizations that were aware, you know, of social responsibility and sustainability were already passionate. We were pushing against an open door. So the thing is, we quite easily got those first customers on board. But I think the biggest problem, you know, with building that customer base was visibility. You know, who are we? Why should anyone listen to us? How do we build that trust in us as an organization? And that's taken and that's grown. You know, so in the last 12 months, we've seen an exponential increase in appetite globally for what we're doing. Partly because, you know, the previous 5 years, we've been really banging the drum and waving the flag and creating that brand visibility of ourselves.
And actually, you are all about innovation and creativity. How do you foster that culture within your organization?
Well, I guess the innovation is born out of a number of things. Of course, you know, when we incorporated CSRA, it was pretty much just before the pandemic started. And that meant that some of the stuff that we wanted to do, going back to what we were saying about education, we decided that we wanted to put together some training. So we developed that training to be classroom based, and the pandemic said, no, you can't do that. So we put that online. And as a result of putting that online and building a training platform, which is where a lot of the innovation came from, which is now on the Thinkific learning platform, we got a global audience. And that wasn't something that we were originally looking for. We wanted to start in the UK, but it helped us become global, and that inspired us to create global partnerships. I think we're now in 17 countries with different consultants. And even just prior to this call today, I was chatting to an organization in Bangladesh about becoming accredited. So, we've used that innovation and that technology to build the application platform, the portals, the learning, the tools, the webinars, all the things that support what we do to create accessibility to social responsibility.
So like a lot of businesses, COVID had a big impact for you. And I guess that was a kind of a defining or pivotal moment for you. How do you kind of embrace that need to adapt and pivot? And how did you adapt and take all of that on board?
It's funny because in hindsight, you look at these things and it's almost hard to imagine the pandemic, when we went into it on the 22nd of March, wasn't it? I think 2020. And what a shock that was. But I think, we had no choice. We either didn't do it and we just packed up shop, or we just found a way to continue. And we were passionate about what we wanted to achieve. And, in many ways, there were ultimately loads of silver linings. It allowed us that global accessibility. It allowed us time to write our stuff, to do our research, to understand the mechanics of what we were doing, to put together an independent assessment panel, to get the scrutiny around what we were doing, to make sure we were fully transparent. So as we kind of came out of the pandemic, we'd put a lot of the structure in place, a lot of the building blocks, which I don't think we'd have had the luxury of doing had the pandemic perhaps not happened.
It's been a great success story, Richard. You've done incredibly well. You've adapted really well. But I'm sure it's not all been a bed of roses, right? How do you handle failure and setback, and what lessons have you learned?
Well, I think initially not well. And gradually, I've run my own businesses all my life, I guess. So I've been used to that. And there have been failures, there have been things that we've got wrong. But what we've done is we've learned from those, and we've used that to inform the decisions we've made in the future. And one of the things we did very early on is we put a totally independent steering group of people who were really passionate to support us. And we listened to what they said. So they were looking over our fence and saying, you're doing this wrong, or you need to do this, or you need to think about, X, Y, and Z. And that without that, and also some independent mentoring, I think it's been big enough to listen to that and then implement it rather than be guarded against. So I think we evolved as people as well in terms of, taking, support and information and recommendations and rolling with them, which has helped build the strength in our business.
You said you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, all your adult life. Something that I hear most commonly from business owners that they never have enough time. And I'm sure that you've come to adapt and build some fantastic strategies around that. So tell me, Richard, how do you maintain a fantastic work-life balance?
I do somehow maintain a fantastic work-life balance. And I think partly because my emergence into the CSRA, world is my vocation. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. And I get challenged about that sometimes. And I sometimes, my family say, you're running around too much, Dad, or, whatever. But the thing is that I get a thrill out of it and I enjoy it. And I do balance that. I'm a huge swimming fan. I do archery. I play in a couple of bands. I've got loads of things that I do that kind of, give me a break from the world of social environmental responsibility. But, this it's taken me all my life to get to a place where I'm doing something that I really love. And that's probably quite a rare and precious thing. So I embrace that massively.
Yeah, fantastic. What about growth strategies, Richard? What have you seen that's worked well in your business in terms of kind of helping your business to grow and find new customers?
Well, it taps into what you said earlier on, really, about that kind of, what were the challenges, which is around visibility. And I think our growth strategy was partners. We built partnerships, and we build partnerships with charities, with giving platforms, with sustainable services like carbon footprinting, and of course with consultants as well. And we built and membership groups. So we built some really great partnerships, not just in the UK, but all over the world. And it's through those partnerships, and especially with the membership groups, accessibility to their members as well, has given us an opportunity to grow in a way that we couldn't do on our own. I mean, we're a small business. and we've got to manage our budgets. We don't have millions of pounds to put into marketing, so this has been organic growth, and it's through those partnerships that we've been able to kind of reach a bigger audience and grow the business.
So let's just dive into that a bit more then. It's all about building strong relationships, right? Can you tell me a little bit more about how you went about doing that?
I think the thing is that we've tapped into something that people care about. Something I talk about a lot is that, at a very basic level, human beings care. We care about the environment. We care about social issues, more so now than ever. It's on our televisions. There's climate change going on. There are big issues around, social value and what really matters. And I think at a human level, we care about stuff. So therefore, we've tapped into that. And so for us, CSRA is a bottom approach. It is about people. And so when we talk to people, they're already on the same page. They care. So we build those relationships very easily. And I think because we come to the table with a fairly straightforward, no nonsense framework, 4 pillars of environment, workplace, community, and philanthropy, it's very easy to understand. The relationships are built because we get that reflected back to us. So when we're having those conversations, as I said earlier, we're pushing against open doors in many cases. So building the relationships is generally very easy.
It's still a new and emerging environment, albeit a big global topic. And it's still fast paced in terms of how it's evolving. How do you stay on top of that, Richard? How do you stay on top of global trends and technologies to make sure that your business is remaining competitive?
Well, again, it taps into everything I think we've just said as well. I mean, through those partnerships and through memberships, and we get interesting information from so many different areas. I also am a senior advisor to the All Parties Parliamentary Group on ESG, and sitting on those roundtables. The most recent one was on gender equality and gender washing. You learn an awful lot. And they fit into our 4 pillars. So, we need to kind of know about scope 1, 2, and 3 and net zero. We need to know about the non-financial disclosure stuff, the new regulatory requirements and mandatory requirements coming in. So it's our job to keep above and beyond, but not race so far ahead that we're leaving people behind, because people are at very different stages of their journey. Against those 4 pillars, every organization, no matter how small or huge, are already doing things. They just can't see it. And some of them are very aware of it and really and publish their stuff. And some people don't think they're doing anything when in fact they are. And we often say it's amazing what you're doing that you don't talk about. And that's really what we do, is encourage the conversation so people can talk about what they're doing. But as I say, it is emerging, but I think we're past the tipping point now in terms of conversations and awareness around the importance of sustainability, not just from a potential mandatory and regulatory point of view, but because it's the right thing to do. And it's about building a culture within the business that people want to work for. It's a real change in attitude from the next generation of talent who want something very different from the world that they're going to inhabit.
It is new, it is emerging. We're still all coming to terms with it. If you had to kind of boil it down, Richard, and give one piece of advice to other business owners, other business leaders around social responsibility, what would it be?
I think be true, be authentic, be passionate. Don't be intimidated. Share what you're doing, because everything, we talk about this and communicate what we do, no matter how small it may seem. We're providing leadership for others to follow. And that goes back to that collaborative social responsibility. If all of us do little things, we make big impacts. And that's where the power is. I mean, we can rely on governments and nation states and academics and so on and so forth to kind of lead the way. But actually, we're the army, and if we can become sustainability enablers and our businesses and organizations allow us to do those little things, then I think, the advice is do those things, talk about those things, show the impact you're making, no matter how small you might think it is, because it does all add up. And believe me, we are changing the dial.
That's fantastic advice, Richard. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to interview you.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's been a pleasure for me being here as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, if you'd like to come onto Business Spotlight and to share your journey in the way that Richard has just done so, we'd love to hear from you. Just comment apply below and we'll get in contact and fix up an interview with you. Until next time, bye for now.